Today we're going to talk about what you can do during mentoring meetings. I'm going to talk about the mentoring agreement and the importance of setting a mentoring agreement, setting the expectations for your mentoring relationship, and how to set goals during your mentoring relationship, because those goals are what's going to help you keep structured so that you always know what you're working towards. I'm also going to share some really good activities that you could do during your mentoring conversations so that you make the most out of every mentoring conversation that you have, and that every mentoring conversation continues to help you move forward. So for every meeting, they should follow this format. The first thing that you should do in your mentoring meeting is establish or re-establish rapport and provide your mentor with a progress update. So what's happened since your last meeting? Then you're going to do a mentoring activity. And during this lesson, I'm going to share a few different activities that you could do during your mentoring meetings. At the end of your meeting, you're going to summarize your conversation and talk about what's next. What are the action items that you're going to do? And then it's super important to schedule that next meeting, because this keeps the relationship going. It keeps you focused on the meeting dates and the next time you're going to meet. So during your second mentoring meeting, you've already had your first one. For the second mentoring meeting, use that time to really discuss the mentoring agreement. So the mentoring agreement is getting you both on the same page for the relationship. So how are you going to meet? How often? All those things you need to talk about. The other thing that you should do during your second meeting with your mentor is set your goals, and set goals that are very specific and measurable. And your mentor could help you and support you in setting really good goals. And these goals are going to provide structure throughout your mentoring relationship. So I'm now going to show you how to fill in your mentoring agreement and set goals in Mentor City. During your first or second meeting with your mentor, you should fill in the mentoring agreement together. During this conversation, really talk about how is this mentoring relationship going to work. So how long will the relationship be? When are you going to meet? How are you going to meet? How do you handle confidential information? How do you communicate in between meetings? And once you've filled this in, click Save Changes. You'll also want to talk with your mentor about your goals. And in this goals section, you could add goals. Once you've added a goal, click on Save. And once you've achieved a goal, check it off. There are several activities that you could do during your mentoring meetings. One of them is to talk about a specific challenge that you're currently facing. So whether you should take that promotion, or maybe you're feeling not too motivated during your job search. That's a good thing to talk about with your mentor. Or it might be that you're not getting along with colleagues or coworkers. So during your meeting, you're going to talk about a specific challenge and use that mentor as a sounding board. And they'll ask you questions to help you figure out solutions for yourself based on the challenge that you're facing. You could also talk about competencies during a meeting. So you could bring forward a development area. So whether it's presentation skills or another development area that you'd like to work on, or it could be a specialized skill that you want to take to the next level. So a competency could be the mentoring activity for a meeting. You could also do a decision-making activity. So say you're trying to figure out which options are the best options for you. So it could be whether which university or college to choose, or which job opportunity to take. So you might have 3 different opportunities and you have to decide which one is the best one for you. So this is an example of a decision-making grid. And in the left-hand side, or the left-hand column, you'd want to write down all the different options that you have to choose from. Then along the top, you can write in all the factors that are important to you to make that decision. So for this example, it's distance, it's salary, it's the role. And then you really want to talk with your mentor through each item. So you're going to talk about option 1 and factor 1. And then if that's something that's positive, you could put a check mark or an X. And then when you go through this entire grid with your mentor, it's going to bring a lot of clarity to the right direction for yourself. Mind mapping is something that I do for everything in my life. Every New Year's Eve, we make a mind map of what we want to achieve in that year. But I also do it for every project that I'm working on, for every goal that I want to achieve. So in the middle of a big piece of paper, write your goal. And then with your mentor, you could start stemming out. For me to achieve this, here's something that I need to do. And then here's some other things that I need to do. So you're really starting to brainstorm with your mentor everything that you need to do to achieve that goal that you have in your life or that project that you're working on. And then once you have this big mind map, then you could use it to create an action plan for the steps that you need to take to achieve the thing or the project or the goal that you're working on. Also, it's very important to practice your skills. If you have an opportunity, invite your mentor to a presentation that you're conducting. Invite them to a time when you're chairing a meeting or a networking event, because then you can get feedback about your performance. And you can get very constructive feedback so that you know what to do next time. I did a presentation and I had one of my mentors there, and at the end of the presentation, he told me how to enhance my slides for the presentation and also the focus on the audience and making sure that my messages were key and focused on that audience. So the feedback was amazing and it helped me to take my presentation skills to the next level. So I love to do this, and I think it's so important to do this with a mentor, is to practice your skills. Now, if you can't take them to a real event, you could role play a scenario as well. So you could role play a job interview with your mentor. You could role play how to overcome a difficult or how to have a difficult conversation with somebody. And your mentor could be that other person and you could be yourself, and you could just go through all the different scenarios and get feedback on how you could feel more comfortable with that job interview or that situation. There's also something called an encyclopedia of contacts, and that's when your mentor brainstorms all the different people that they know, all the people that they've met along the way, all their business contacts, their family, their friends, and then figures out who they know that could help you. And then they might recommend you to people. And the important thing for you to know is, like, once your mentor recommends someone to you and you've met with them, let your mentor know how that conversation went right away, because that's going to keep your mentor even more engaged in the conversation. And they're probably really curious to see how that introduction goes, how that meeting went. So let them know as soon as you finish it and wrap it up. You could also do assessment tools. So there's assessment tools around personality or strengths. And the reason why I think doing an assessment tool is important for a mentoring relationship is it gives you both an opportunity to get to know each other better and learn about each other's learning styles and personality. So then you could both do the same assessment, and there's lots of free online assessments, and then talk about it and talk about how these results could help you and your mentor work more collaboratively and better together based on what you now know about one another. So then you've met, and it might be 6 months down the road, it might be 1 year down the road, and if you've set a end relationship date, so if you set, okay, for this relationship it is going to be 6 months, during the last meeting, here's what you should talk about. You'll want to share your key learnings and provide feedback. So you can provide feedback to the mentor, and the mentor could provide feedback to you as well. You want to thank the mentor and celebrate the success that you've achieved. It's been a journey, like you've been meeting for so long, so really take some time to acknowledge one another and celebrate what actually happened during the mentoring relationship. Then you want to discuss the next phase of the relationship, and sometimes the relationship will this will be it. This will be the end of the mentoring relationship. But for other mentoring relationships, they might turn into an informal mentoring relationship. So that's where you'll still reach out to that mentor on an as-needed basis. So that's really good. Or you might decide that you're going to have a coffee like once a year just to keep up to date and see how you and your mentor are progressing. And then at the end of the relationship, you also want to complete a program evaluation. So I'm going to show you how that works in Mentor City. At the end of your mentoring relationship, you can fill out the program evaluation. Once you and your mentoring partner have both filled in the program evaluation, then your relationship has been completed in Mentor City. But that doesn't mean that your mentoring relationship is over, because it can always continue on an informal basis.